logbook, again, we have these questions, why should we want one? And of course, you can say first, there's a lot of information if you're a building owner, and yeah, so logbook is something that helps you organizing all these information that is there. Again, most renovations are stepwise, and yes, it takes a long period of time, and really not to lose information of further former renovations. Another thing is a simple presentation of the building's efficiency and of the components as well. So to maybe find the weak point of the building, because we have the data there then, and yes, we will see how that looks. And if a building owner wants, he can have very simple planning ahead with his building. That's also something that's possible with the logbook. So what is it in general? It's really a digital repository for the building-related information. It saves completely data sets of each building state, and we will see what building state means then. It tracks the changes to the building. So like a real logbook on a ship, you can always go back and see where you have been. And yeah, maybe last, it has a connection to the roadmap, but it doesn't need to have this. So as an overview, here you see what the logbook pages are in general. So there's a huge data storage. We will get into this. You have this building assessment, you can say, for the whole building, for the envelope, and for the equipment. But of course, you can, in the data storage, you can have any kind of data about the building that you like. So like plans or photographs. So you can upload everything that's important for the building, and you can find it again. So let's see what it looks live. If you open the logbook, you have, yes, in my case, I already have buildings there. If you're new to it, you don't see any building in this table, but you see that button, New Building. And if you have, if you choose it, first, of course, you have to tell the logbook how, which country you're from, because this sets the data set in behind, and also the colors in the logbook, which we will see. So the class boundaries of energy classes and everything. These are the national adaptations, and this you set here. And you set the year of construction for the building. This is important. And if you like, maybe an image. But of course, I have a prepared building here. And this is mainly what the logbook looks like. You can see these three main points. You also see them here. So a repository, documents and plans, and building states. The repository is really, if you open that, we have these other points. So general information, of course, like address, renovation year, and you see something like building volume, and this already refers to the energy calculation of the EPC. And also, if needed, climate data. And one thing I want to point out here is already there are white fields and blue fields, and the blue fields always can be adapted to the national requirements. So say national code might be in another format in Portugal than in Bulgaria, and So this can be adapted. Other fields are white, and they are valid throughout, they are so internationally, and there's no use in adapting data like the renovation year. So they are generally valid. But maybe more interesting than the general information is building construction information. And here we see, first in an overview, there are all kinds of building construction types, building components, so walls, roofs, floors, doors, and windows. And if you open this, it pops up, and you can enter names for the walls, and of course descriptions, the orientation to the west, surface area and material. And you see, these are, of course, really the calculation data for the EPC calculation. So once this data is in the logbook, it can't be lost anymore. So maybe if you decide to have an energy audit or an EPC today, and in 5 years you like to have really an energy audit, you could give this information to the auditor, and he doesn't have to measure the whole building again. And of course, you can not only enter only one wall type, you can enter as many wall types as you like. Same for roofs, floors, and for the other components. Once it's entered, you press save. I don't do it here. Same is for the building equipment. So you have ventilation, heating, cooling, hot water, lamps, and yes, any kind. And again, you open these, and you can enter heating systems, not only one, but as many as you like, with the technical specification. Go back again. Of course, we can also enter the energy performance, and this again is not calculated here. It's really entered by the auditor. And these classes, here you might see why they have to be adapted to the national requirements, because they differ between the member states. Here, the classes are, if you choose one, it shows afterwards exactly the same color as in the national EPC. So to avoid owners to be confused, you can save all EPC specifications and outcomes, energy consumption. And so step by step, fill in all relevant data for the building. So, and the thing is, once you have all this data inside, you can say, okay, I want to have an assessment of this data. So easiest thing is overall performance. Okay, you could say it shows me what I entered. I entered C, and it shows me it's C. On the other hand, the auditor entered it, and the owner, he can just see, okay, C means this. It's not the best level, it's really quite in the middle. And there's also a benchmarking on top. So you can see where is my building compared to the others. So this is the average consumption of buildings in this country and buildings that were entered in the logbook. So it's not the average throughout all buildings in the country. It's just refers just to this to the ones that are entered into the logbook. And because of that, it's shown here. It's based on 2 buildings actually, because these are the 2 buildings that I entered. So, but yes, if it's based on maybe 10,000 buildings, it has more relevance then. And you can see where's my building compared to the others. then we can also assess the envelope performance. First, I'd like you to look only at this third column, because this would be maybe the actual column. So you see, maybe my wall and my roof are already good. Maybe I have something to do still with my windows and my floor. They are still red. And why we see these different states here, this is something that we come to now. Because we don't only save one building state, we can create different building states. Each time that we change something in the building, we track this change in a new building state. So that means we create a new building state simply by making a copy of another one and entering the changes that have been made. So we don't overwrite old states, we always create a new one. And if you say maybe there's one building state that was created by the energy auditor, this has the highest relevance, so you're not, you won't erase this one or overwrite something. So, but from this building state, you can go back and say, okay, what has been improved in the building since the year of construction? So I can have a state back to the past and say, this was my building originally, and I already have made some improvements, and I can see this, I can track this. On the other hand, I can also go forward to the future and say, as a building owner, I could say, what happens if I insulate my walls, maybe with 10 centimeters of some insulation material? Will they turn yellow? Or will they turn green? So a bit of planning ahead in a playful way. It's not, of course, technical planning, but to raise interest for the building owner. And I think the building is very important for the owners. So some that are technically interested might want to play around and make their own plans and develop a whole plan together with an auditor then later. And this is what we saw here, that you have like a timeline, the development of the components through time and through the different stages. So, of course, you could have here also the renovation steps from the renovation roadmap. So if you just follow the roadmap exactly, you could have step 1, step 2, step 3, and exactly you would see here the improvements from the roadmap that were foreseen. And of course, in the end, you want to have all components turn green, and here we always display a dark green target to show where the building, what the target should be due to climate crisis. So, I said we have a link to the roadmap, if there is one. I told you, you can have both tools independently, but if there's a roadmap, you can go to this item and you can open the roadmap from your logbook. So that's a link, and if you click it, you get to this roadmap page, and it also works the same way. Still, we have a glossary explaining technical information for laymen. But that's in general the iBRoad logbook. And maybe you still have some questions on this.